Well, there's been a lot of talk about collapse every freaking 2 seconds. You see this on the internet, hold gold, hold silver. And actually, it's going to play out where it's going to happen like that. And but the real solution, like I said, is a strong middle class that actually produces something constructive. Don't matter what it is. It has to be non-fluff type industry, something that people really need and use. That's why I got a lot of respect for the people that, do the framing on the houses, do the wiring, do the plumbing, do the farming, do the mechanical work. And you could be building Tesla coils too. I don't know. That's a pretty interesting concept about some of that stuff with healing with frequencies, because the more I delve into it, it's, the people that hype it, it's like exaggerated, but, just like anything, it's a good thing. People hype up silver too much and gold too much, but it's still a good thing. Just keep it at a happy medium. And yeah, we had this interim pullback, and I know it dipped a little bit again, but look what's on the horizon for October. October, it's okay. We know the history that they voted to, defund Obamacare. They got the votes to do that, right? Now, I don't know. I know Obama's like saying bracing for shutting down the government and stuff. I don't know. It might not happen like, shut down the government like you think, because actually, what happens when they shut down the government? The government gets a paid vacation. That's what happened, I think, in 95 or 96. When they shut down the government back then, it was Newt Gingrich that did it. What happened was everybody got paid anyway. They kept essential people, and the people that were told to go home, they still got their money. That's how it got shut down. So, hey, that's what happens in the non-business world, right? And I don't want to blame them. I mean, I'm not knocking the government employees or nothing like that. That's not really where most of the waste comes from. It's not even them so much. It's a lot of other things. It's a many things. Too much bureaucracy. One's shoveling, one's filling up the hole, one's digging the hole, one's filling up the hole. That kind of garbage. It's a mad circle sometimes with the government. But the one thing I really say where I saw a headline. I think it was Greg Manarino, whatever, said catastrophic collapse coming, and I'm like, man, oh man. The one reason I say there's a collapse coming, where I feel like really secure that it's secure that it's coming, is that George Soros made the bet. I got way more respect for his shrewdness and smarts than all the other ones probably put together. I talked about Mark Farber, but I think Soros got gold too. I think he's got physical gold. I don't think he ain't gonna say it. What the hell? He ain't gonna say shit. Farber's saying it because he's hooked up with Eric Sprott too, in a way, right? And they want you to buy their funds, but all the guys on the top, they always have physical assets, other than gold and even in silver. They have artwork, jewelry, and other things. And I'm going to get into something else here pretty soon, but if you really want to transfer a lot of money, the way to do it sometimes is physically. I'll tell you some trick about that. How the Russians do it. Because I'll tell you right now that, anyway, there's a lot of stuff that goes on that I don't know everything about what goes on, but I know a couple things that I don't think some people seen before. And there's a lot of cool stuff that goes on. But it looks like, I'm going to say October, something's going to happen. Because, I remember October 2011, they were saying, oh yeah, it's going to happen October 2011, short the S&P and, make a bet, and 11/11/11's Illuminati date. And I didn't buy into that crap, But October normally is if there's ever a time, a month, that there's a market reset or something downturn, it's usually October. I just got a lot of faith in this Soros guy, and it looks like there's a lot of things that have been indicating it for months and months and months. The 6 Hindenburg omens and all that stuff. There was like 2 Hindenburg omens, then there was 3, now there's 6. The last time they had 6 Hindenburg omens was before they had the 2008-2009 crisis. So maybe it's going to play out. Now, I'm going to say something about, all this anti-American stuff. let me put it this way. The global elite have always funded the communists. You know, it goes back to FDR and before FDR, how Woodrow Wilson was even used and stuff like that. There was a lot of stuff going on. You know, how the Bolshevik Revolution even came about, it was financed by the global elite in the West. It was helped along. The global government garbage and the global power where the owners own everything and the workers get shafted by doing more and more and less, that's been in the works all along. The only way you can really fight them is not to just simply invest in silver, but you have to be independent and productive where we're exchanging goods and services amongst each other, and you know, that are actually beneficial for people, beneficial in a real way that makes you independent, which tells the elite, go to hell, we don't even need you. You know, in other words, if you can sit back and say, you know, you have a free source of energy, you have a way to get all the food you need, and you have all the way to get all the materials you need for whatever you need, you pretty much don't even need their digital money. So a lot of the way to get that is when your people are actually producing amongst themselves. So it's not like a quick, easy solution. Now, so I think what's going on, though, is the global elite want the Americans to get disheartened, dismayed, and to reject their system, and they're going to introduce a hybrid, modified, capitalist communist system in its place. It's kind of like how it's going anyway, but it's going to even be more communistic and more control freak, like in Russia, you know, which is the most corrupt freak. Russia and China are still the worst countries going. If you know, the United States is getting more like that due to the global elite, and the United States got way more freedoms than in Russia and in China. You know? I mean, look at it this way. If you really have the balls, I mean, if you got the Gestapo Nazis doing some kind of crap to you in the United States, people just can start doing a little more about it too, you know? And you don't have to, like, go against the power itself. You can go specifically against the jerks that are screwing you over, you know? It's called self-defense. You could do that. You could do that because it's just the law of nature. And I'll say that because, but people don't have the balls, man. They cower. They freaking say, we can't do anything about it. It's the global elite, you know, and all this kind of shit. You know, so it's the global elite are working with the East, the Chinese leader, Vladimir Putin. And Vladimir Putin has his own little agenda and stuff like that. He's actually, you know, he will cut the throat of the Western elite if he can get more money. But he works with them perfectly, man. He does. You know, there's all kinds of deals being going on behind the scenes. You know, the Saudis are trying to cut Vladimir Putin a deal and all this kind of crap with Syria and all this kind of shit. There's all kinds of crap going on. So, you know, don't believe the political rhetoric for a million right from the beginning. The game is they want you to reject the American system because they're going to install something worse. Now, I do feel very strongly that because of Soros's bet mainly, where it gives me a lot of confidence, he made a heavy bet that, you know, that the S&P is going to go down. It's going to go down, and I think it's going to go down for several other reasons, because it's held up by, the numbers are held up not by production in goods and services. It's actually because you would see it more reflected in the commodities price. It's held up by the Federal Reserve policies. And as soon as they, you know, it's quite obvious when Ben Bernanke says we're not going to taper, the markets and everything flies up and the dollar goes down. So, you know, I can see what the trend is anyway, you know. Now, I want to say something about Jim Rogers, you know. And people, like, look at this guy like he's some kind of hero because he talks a little bit about gold and stuff, and he's not really exactly hooked up with the Obama regime. You know, I know he was partnered in with George Soros, but I'll tell you the truth, I think Soros was the smarter one. And, you know, the reason I'm picking up this right now is when Jim Rogers says he's thinking about investing in Russia, go ahead, Jimmy. Go ahead. You know, I think you ought to invest in the United States of America. You know, that's where you came from. If you invest in Russia, they're going to screw you. And you're going to be winding up You're no longer a billionaire. That's what's going to happen. I don't give a shit how well you've done in the past. You invest a lot of money in Russia, you're getting screwed. And you know what? Serves you right, because you didn't invest it in the United States of America. So that's what I got to say to Jimmy Rogers. Now, one guy I kind of like respect, but I think he's got a little racket going too, was T. Boone Pickens. He lost his ass on these windmills and stuff like that, alternative energy. He's no longer like exactly a billionaire. Maybe he'll be one again. He's been trying to push for the natural gas. But every state he's actually involved in, natural gas for your vehicle is higher, because he's doing something too. But nobody on the top really does anybody a favor, But we got to make sure that in the United States, we're gold and silver. We're trying to be independent financially and all this kind of garbage. We got to make sure that we're not going against the elite carte blanche, because there's good elite and there's bad elite. And Vladimir Putin's a bad elite. People don't agree with me on that. Some people don't, but he's a bad guy, just because he criticizes some of the crap in the West. I don't give a shit, man. That don't mean he's getting good. But we have to make sure we don't reject our American way of life carte blanche, because when you do that, they already got something ready to go on the shelf. So when we have these economic turndowns that get more and more severe, people are going to say, we need a solution, we need something. You watch, because that's what they want you to do. And the only way to fight them is not just with silver, but it's actually with real production of goods and services. Real production of goods and services that people need. I know, like I mentioned before about industrial hemp, but I mean, that's like a freaking pipe dream, because, if they allowed industrial hemp to be grown in this nation, we'd have enough energy. We wouldn't need to even be doing the fracking with the natural gas. We'd have plenty of materials. We'd have plenty of food. There'd be plenty of medicines. Even industrial hemp has some additional value to it. It doesn't even have to have the THC, because the oils have some healing effects without even the THC. But the plants and the agriculture can actually save the United States big time, and they're not allowing this kind of shit, and they're screwing it up. So I think the only way to fight them is actually on an individual basis, word of mouth. How to grow plants or whatever the hell it is. Don't just fight them on one front on silver. I mean, that's not like the way to do it. You got to fight them on a multiple of fronts. But just remember this, because I want to say this in closing. The game plan of the global elite is to bring down the West, especially the United States of America, and bring up the rest of the world. And it's going to be owners and peasants, right? That's how they want it. But the way to bring down the West is financial collapse, and they want Americans to reject the system they have here, and then they'll bring in something worse. The problem is, it's not the American system. Americans aren't sticking with the system. In Russia, they don't even have a system, man. They got Vladimir Putin and his gang. So anybody from that freaking little camp that criticizes the United States, they need to go look at their shit first. And you know what? I don't want to knock any Russians, because there are some extremely intelligent, perceptive, smart Russians that know exactly what's going on with Putin, but they can't say. So really, what I'm saying is, it's been planned. Major Golitsyn said this. They're going to introduce a hybrid type of communism with a human face after the financial collapse of the West. So beware of that shit, and beware of super heavy criticism of all our elite, because even like some of the policies that you disagree with, you don't know the whole damn story. You don't know the whole damn story. I get almost annoyed that, we could say, we're doing this against Iran or something or whatever. But you know what? If Iran had the power, the military might of the United States of America, and it was that military might, just hypothetically, was sitting in their country, they would not hesitate to obliterate us totally, totally kill us, because they're nut job religious freaks on the top control that country. So in a way, it's not as one-sided as people think. It's like, overall, when you take the net sum of things are a way lot better in the West than they still have been. Not to say that I'm going to give them a lot of rope and shit, because I will criticize. Like I said, I'm one of the few people that did not vote for either Republican or Democratic Party in the last several elections. I took other. And, it's less than 1% of the people that do that. Because most people say, I have to vote for the lesser of two evils. I don't do that. I stick with somebody I think is better and is going to improve something. And people are afraid to think outside the box. So, I don't go along with the bullshit. But the point is, I'm not jumping into the fire from the frying pan because somebody's telling me the frying pan's worse. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. So anyway, just beware. They're setting us up right now, because when the financial collapse really comes, I don't think it's coming this year. You might see this market turn down. They'll just pump more money into the system. But when the financial collapse of the West actually does come about, and there's a major, major calamity, they're going to have something already set up that's going to screw you over even worse. So don't be jumping for that kind of shit. And because the game might be that, it might be that the West is working with Putin in a way to build him up, to make him look like some kind of hero. Because the game is to destroy the United States. That is the game. That is the game of some of the elite. And not all of them think the same. So just, I personally would not want to see that happen at all. So, that's the way it is. And Jim Rogers, I have to say this, I guess, again in closing. If you invest in Russia and you lose your ass, I don't really give a shit, to tell you the truth. You should be investing in the United States of America.